Alright, dude, that is basically a cheat code for screams. What is up, y'all? Today we're back with a plugin review, and this time it's not guitar related. Wild, right? And this is something I really never thought I'd see myself reviewing, let alone from this company. So today we're checking out the new Mantra vocal processing suite from Neural DSP. And this is not a sponsored video at all. I did purchase this with my own money because I downloaded the trial and I immediately loved this plugin. So that's a bit of a spoiler alert here. I am going to be saying a lot of good stuff about it, but we'll probably uncover some stuff that might need to be fixed, or you never know. But since this is not a sponsored video, please check out any of my affiliate links down in the description below, because any of those that you end up using really helps me out a ton and supports this channel. So let's go ahead and dive into Logic Pro here. So this is a song that I recently wrote for my weekly Riff Refinery series. It's called Anubis Gates, and this is what it sounds like without any vocals at all. So that is linked up above and down below if you wanted to watch me write that song from scratch. But what I did is I duplicated my session and then I took all of my vocal processing plugins off. So if we look across my mixer here, every vocal channel has nothing on it. The vocal bus has nothing on it. The only things that have plugins on right now are the mix bus has just a regular mix bus compressor. We have the Townhouse bus compressor on here. We have JST Maximizer on the master bus here because we're getting some loudness, some saturation and things like that. Might end up turning that off for this purpose, but I wanted it just to bring up that loudness while we're listening to what we're doing here. But none of those are what we're working on today. Today, we're working on the vocals. So if we go ahead and close all of the instruments, and we're going to go ahead and solo out these vocals. So when I'm recording screaming vocals, because this is a deathcore song, so we're working with just screams here. When I'm recording screaming vocals, I always have my high vocal track and then an overdub for it. I always have a second one of those because I usually end up needing to layer them and they kind of coincide with each other just because it sounds good. And then I have my lows working the same ways. I just named them overdubs for whatever reason. I might have done something different there. We'll find out as we get to that section. But if we solo the first main vocal high, I'm not a great screamer, y'all. I need a lot of work on endurance and consistency and everything. So these aren't gonna sound great, and we're gonna see what we can do to make them sound better with Mantra. You curse my soul. Okay, so that's not really a high. What is this one? That's more of a high. That's more of like a whisper high. But let's go ahead and work with this first one here. So we're gonna go ahead and insert an instance of Mantra. I'm just doing mono, I'm not doing anything stereo here. All right, so the first thing that you'll notice is that inside of Mantra, you've got a lot of stuff going on. You have your signal chain essentially up here on the top, and then you do have all of the different effects that you're able to add down across the bottom. But it immediately opens up with this Sculpt your vocal sound. What it does is it's analyzing the EQ curve of your voice, essentially. And it's going to then put its own EQ curve on your voice of what it thinks is going to sound best for it. I've found that this can be hit or miss. It just depends on the vocals. It's actually a really good starting point, though. So let's go ahead and hit Start Analysis and hit play. Oh, curse my soul! Oh, curse my soul! All right, so let's go ahead and loop that little bit back and forth here. You curse my soul. So not bad with just what it did in EQ. That's literally just EQ going. Let's turn it off. You curse my soul. Not bad, right? In true Neural DSP fashion, up at the top, you've got your three different sections. So we have the main window that we're looking at here. Then we have the like vocoder kind of like harmonies section here. So you have a ton of different harmonies that you can add to it. And then time-based effects. So we've got delay, reverb, modulation, and a doubler. The doubler is pretty sick on clean vocals especially. And just like in other Neural DSP plugins, you can right click on each of these to turn them off. So if you only want to use one section of it, you're good to go. Over here, you have the monitoring section, which is tracking versus mixing. I'm going to go ahead and switch that to mixing because we're not live tracking vocals right now. If you were tracking your vocals live, send it to tracking instead, and that will use a lot less CPU and create basically no latency while you're hearing your vocals affected in real time, which is really nice. With that, let's go ahead and dive in. I don't need a gate on these vocals. I've already kind of done that myself. We've got the Sculpt section down here, and I want to mess with that a little bit and see what it does. So I'm just going to hit play and press some buttons. You curse my soul. You curse my soul. That target curve of mid-forward sounds pretty good. You curse my soul. You curse my soul. You curse. All right, so I think the mids forward sounded better there. Let's go ahead and mess with the percentages of the EQ and then the dynamic EQ over here. You curse my soul. You curse my soul. I also noticed that the de-esser's putting in some work over here when I say soul there.
You curse my soul.
So let's turn that off and hear how it sounds.
You curse my soul.
Yeah, it is. It's putting in a decent amount. Let's go ahead and crank it and see what it sounds like.
You curse my soul.
See, it's not too aggressive even with that cranked. I do really like that. Some de-essers make you sound like you have like some speech impediment or something when it's really cranked, and it makes you sound like you're saying a ch instead of a s sound. So I'm really actually happy with that. All right, then we've got the EQ section over here. So if anybody here owns a quad cortex, you'll notice that this looks like it's straight out of the quad cortex, right? But it also looks like it's straight out of FabFilter, which is awesome. I use FabFilter every day. And the reason I say that is you can actually solo these frequencies, you can move them around, and although there's not as many frequencies available, that kind of helps to limit you and not have you just spiking and pulling and notching everywhere and destroying your vocal chain. So I'm gonna leave what it has there because I'm gonna move on to the compressor and the saturation. So in the compressor section, this is what it looks like once I hit play.
You curse my soul.
So you can see what it's actually doing. And the compression mix is only at 50% right now. So if we crank that to 100%.
You curse my soul.
And to be honest, I think I like that more at 100% for screaming vocals especially, because I'm not a great screamer, like I said. I definitely still need to learn how to do things properly. And so mine are all over the place. Some parts are quiet, some parts are super loud. And so I'm gonna compress the living crap out of that instead. And then there's 3 different types of compressors you can choose from. So it's on stress right now. I'm assuming that's a distressor style compressor algorithm that it's using, but let's go ahead and switch between the 3 and see how it sounds.
You curse my soul. You curse my.
So the tube definitely has a very noticeable difference. It's a lot warmer and a little bit less attacky kind of sound. So I'm gonna leave it on stress. And for those of you that aren't wearing headphones, you might wanna wear headphones so you can hear some of the subtle differences. Next up is the saturation, which I think is probably one of the coolest and most important parts of this plugin and can help the most for screams. So if we go ahead and listen with the saturation off.
You curse my soul.
And on.
You curse my.
And now I'm gonna crank the mix while it's playing.
You curse my soul. You curse my soul.
So that's pretty damn good. It helps to really thicken up those screams and almost give me something that I don't have. You know, if I were to have to do that live and recreate this, I would not be able to, but on a recording, it sounds sick. Your boy can't do this live. I have a very newfound respect for vocalists that do this stuff live. Just the endurance alone and being able to breathe and everything, it's crazy, man. I can't even do it in multiple takes, let alone doing live one takes. Again, major props to all of the great screamers out there. I am not in that mix. All right, so now that we've got like the main foundation for our scream set, I'm not gonna do anything with the tuning because it's a scream. I'm not a pitch screamer either. It's literally basically one pitch that whole time. So I'm not gonna mess with that at all. But what we will do is go over into the effects section over here. So let's go ahead and mess around with the reverb and delay and see what it sounds like.
You curse my soul.
So with the delay cranked up a little bit, that sounds honestly good. What are the different delays? So we've got circular delay, analog delay, tape delay, and dual delay. Let's go ahead and cycle through those with the mix pretty high so you can hear it.
You curse my soul.
Oh, that one's weird.
You curse my soul.
Okay, the tape would sound cool in like an interlude with maybe like a radio effect on the vocals. And then dual.
You curse my soul.
That's pretty good too. I think I'm gonna leave it on analog though. I like the way that that sounds. We'll bring the mix back down on it. All right, reverb. Let's crank the reverb and see how that sounds.
You curse my soul. You curse my.
It's a really pleasing reverb too. And there's the hall.
You curse my soul.
And then what is this one? Ambient.
You curse my soul.
That's a very subtle reverb is what the ambience is. So we'll go back to the plate reverb. That's usually what I use in a normal reverb plugin too. You know, I'm wondering what the doubler will sound like on screams.
You curse my soul.
Not great on the screams, I don't think. Or at least not for this track. Let's go ahead and up the spread.
You curse my soul.
Oh, you know what it is though? I'm not on a stereo track. Let's go. I guess we should switch that to a stereo track then. There we go. Now that we're on a stereo track, we'll hear that better. My bad, y'all.
You curse my soul.
actually that could sound really cool during certain parts of the song. I don't think I would ever do it on the main vocal track. I might do that on like the overdubs of the screams, but that could actually give it some real width during some certain parts of the track. You know what, now that I've got that on a stereo track, let's go ahead and bring the delay down.
Go, curse my soul. Go.
Yeah, that's a little bit better. All right, same with the reverb.
Go, curse my soul.
And then last up, let's check up the modulation. So on the modulation, we have chorus, we have flanger, and we have phaser. For this song, I don't think I need those, but just for the sake of this video, let's go through them real quick.
Go, curse my soul. Go, curse my soul. Go, curse my soul.
All right, the phaser I could definitely use during like an affected section. I could actually use, that's a good phaser. I could use that on guitar even.
Go, curse my soul.
Let's go ahead and go back to the main window here. What I want to do now is I want to mute all of the other vocals and I just want to hear this one vocal by itself with the mix. So let's go ahead and bring up the vocals and let's see how it sounds. Actually, we'll just do it from within the plugin itself. So we have an output set here.
Go, curse my soul.
Now what we can do is we can copy over Mantra to the overdub for that specific one. So let's go ahead and solo the vocals again. And let's go ahead and solo just the overdub and hear what that sounds like, because that was highs, and so we do kind of need to tweak it a little bit.
Ow, curse my soul.
Yikes, my screams are rough, dude. They don't sound the greatest. Let's see how the compression's working.
Ow, curse my soul. Ow, curse my soul. Ow.
All right, and then what else do we want to do? Maybe let's do the doubler on that and see what it sounds like. Let's make that a stereo track too.
Ow, curse my soul. Ow, curse my soul. Ow.
All right, let's see what that sounds like with both of those.
Go, curse my soul. Go, curse my soul. Go.
That sounds pretty good. Now let's go ahead and check those in the main mix.
Curse my soul.
That's pretty good. Now we need to move on to these next ones. Let's see what these sound like.
Drain my yo.
Okay, so those are lows. I just didn't label them as lows. And for those that are wondering, since I'm not great at enunciating there yet, that does say drain my hole. And I'm realizing now how that sounds. Maybe I should have changed that up a little bit. All right, let's hear how just copying and pasting that preset that I just made goes to it.
Drain my yo.
Okay, I mean, it fits and that makes sense because of it being on the first one as well.
Drain my yo.
You can hear me struggling to scream there a little bit.
Drain my yo.
All right, and then let's listen to the overdub.
Drain my yo.
Okay, that one needs some more help. So what are we doing here?
Drain my yo.
We definitely have enough of the compression going on. Do we need more saturation?
Drain my yo.
Compression's maybe a bit too much on that one.
Drain my yo.
Okay, and let's try a different EQ curve.
Drain my yo. Drain my yo. Drain my yo.
No, maybe the mids forward is still it.
Drain my yo.
But that definitely takes too much of the low end out.
Drain my yo.
And let's go ahead and listen to them together.
Drain my yo.
Okay, and let's listen to it in the context.
Drain my yo.
Okay, it just needs to be a little bit louder.
Drain my yo.
Let's open up this first one and give that a little bit of a boost.
Drain my yo.
Okay, might be a little bit too loud now.
Drain my yo.
Yeah, let's bring it down just a tad.
Drain my yo.
Okay, all right, now let's move on to the actual lows on here. And we'll take this first one yet again, and let's go ahead and unmute that, but we'll solo it.
I'll crash.
See, I need to get better at organizing stuff. That's a high. That's a high pitch vocal, man.
I'll crash unfold to claim my flag.
I wish I had paid attention when I was naming stuff. This is my issue. Okay, let's go ahead and see what we're looking at in here.
Our graves unfold to claim my flag. Our graves unfold to claim my.
You can hear those cuts I made in the song there.
Our graves unfold to claim my flag.
Okay, I want to mess with the harmonizer a little bit, and let's just see what it does.
Our graves unfold. Our graves unfold to claim my flag.
That's pretty sick. All right, let's go with these zeros over here. And let's set that to 7 semitones down. Let's bring the 12 down again. I don't really care to hear that.
Our graves unfold to claim my flag.
Dude, that's pretty crazy.
Our graves unfold.
So without it.
Our graves unfold to claim my flag.
Damn, that's like a cheat code to screams there. Let's hear that in the mix. Okay. That's not bad. Okay, so I won't do that on the main vocal track though. All right, so let's go ahead and listen to the next piece here and see if that's also a high.
Our graves are.
Okay, no, that's actually a low again. I annoy myself.
Our graves unfold.
Now, maybe on this one, we do the harmonizer and see how that sounds. Let's go to this one here, and let's do that at -7, so an octave down.
Our graves unfold to claim my flesh.
It's crazy sounding, dude.
Our graves unfold to claim my flesh.
Definitely sounds very, like, processed, but that's not a bad thing.
Our graves unfold to claim my flesh.
Okay, now let's hear that in the mix now.
Our graves unfold to claim my flesh.
Okay, that's working.
Our graves unfold to claim my flesh.
That's not bad. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this from the top and see what we've got. I'll probably be messing with faders and everything the whole time, just kind of putting things into their place, but I want to listen to this. I'm actually really surprised by it. And that's with Neural DSP Mantra on every single vocal track, and that is it. There's nothing on the vocal bus either. Again, we do have a mix bus processor, and we do have a maximizer on the master bus, but nothing special here. Dude, that's all with just one plugin. That's actually legit. The only thing that I can say is that I wish it was a vocal bus like processor too. Let's go ahead and see if it is. Let's go ahead and open up Mantra. Yeah, we don't want to do an EQ curve here. Let's look at the presets. There's got to be a preset here for vocal bus. Guitar enhancer, mix bus, tube saturation. Okay, none of those are what we want. Is there any vocal bus? You know, Neural DSP, if you happen to watch this, something really useful to put into all of your plugins is just a way to search the presets folder, especially when you have this many artists in here. Because if I could just type in the word bus and search through here, it'd be really, really cool. All right, John Maciel, that's cool to see his name in here, honestly. We've got an Angsty Fox bus. Let's see what that does. So off. All right, it's got, what do we have? We have the modulation going on that we don't need. So let's turn off that because each already has their own modulation, saturation. Okay. It's making that other one really quiet. So far that doesn't work very well as a bus, like a drop in and play kind of thing. I guess we could try to do our own. So let's go ahead and go back to default on here and let it start its analysis. All right, and I think that works for a vocal bus processor now too. And let's go ahead and listen to this all the way through real quick. I'm really interested to see how this comes out. That's crazy. This is all just one plugin. That is actually crazy that I was able to do that so easily. And I'm a noob at mixing vocals. Yes, this isn't a professional mix. This isn't something I would release right now on streaming services, but it's definitely what I would use to get me there once I do a full mix. This is honestly great. All right, dude, that is basically a cheat code for screams. There's some work that I need to do as far as, tightening up my performance and my editing, because you can hear some of the pops and clicks from the edits at the beginning of the song. That's not because of this plugin whatsoever. That's crazy. This just sounds sick, dude. I am really, really stoked on this vocal processor. Mantra from Neural DSP, sick as hell. Definitely gonna be using this on everything going forward. So next video, I'm gonna use it on my singing vocals. And so look out for that one. That's going to come out on Sunday, and that's going to be part of my Riff Refinery. That's a song that has some singing in it. I was going to show you all today, but I didn't want to, spill the beans on that song before it's actually released on my Riff Refinery video. So if you're interested in hearing that, please check it out. Sunday at 6 a.m. Pacific is when I usually drop those videos, and it's called my Sunday Riff Refinery. If you want to make it easier, just hit that subscribe button and hit the bell so you're notified when it launches, Yeah, that's that basic YouTuber stuff. But if you found this helpful, let me know. I'm going to continue doing videos like this where I'm showcasing different plugins. I specifically showed this one because it's something I'm going to be using constantly. So, yeah. Until next time, peace and love, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Bye now.